So the great Ben Hogan said the mark of any true player is the ability to control ball flight as well as trajectory. Hey, my name is Eric Kaplan, and we're going to tell you right now are the secrets on how to hit the power fade draw, the high bomb draw, as well as how to hit that pretty little bullet stinger that is a very useful shot when you're playing into the wind. So what we're going to delve into right now is what to do to be able to hit that power fade. Now, first of all, let's understand what exactly a power fade is, because one of the most common misconceptions understanding is what actually causes a golf ball to move in the air. So if I want to hit a fade, the ball has to start left of my target. You never want to hit a fade that starts right of your target. And so the only way a ball can start left of your target is if the face is a little bit closed. Biggest misconception, the way you hit a fade is with a closed face. And so what also has to happen is we need a path that is a little bit more out to in. That creates the ball to start left and that little chandelle or pretty fade back to target. So we do that not by manipulating what the hands are doing in your downswing, but just based on ball position. So if I were to go ahead and move the ball position a little bit more forward in my stance, we can quickly see the face will be a little bit more closed, right? Relative to where the center of my arc is. If the ball position is a little bit more forward in my stance, of course what's going to happen there, face will also be a little bit closed, but also the path is coming more out to in. And so that would produce a little bit more of a pull. So what do I do to create a little bit more of an out to in ball flight? I drop my left foot back a little bit. So to hit the power fade, it's not about manipulating what my hands are doing in my backswing, but just by moving the ball position slightly more forward and dropping that left foot back. This can be a shot that you know 100% of the time will start down the left-hand side of the fairway and cut back into your target 100%. So again, if you're playing a really tight driving hole where you want to just have a shot you can rely on hit the fairway each and every time, again, it might be a little bit more, not quite as long as the power draw we're going to talk about next, but this is that fairway finder that we need to rely on. So we're going to have each hit a ball doing that. So of course we're going to go through the basic elements of posture first. We're going to get into our primary tilt, shoulder engagement, secondary tilt, and of course your first move back is still that pulling action of your right shoulder. It's going to be a rehearsal of that. So all we're going to do from here is we're going to move the ball position slightly more forward in your stance, okay? And you're going to drop that left foot back a little bit. So again, it's not about manipulating your golf swing, but just saying for as long as the ball position is more forward, we will see a face that's a little bit more closed. And also because we drop the left foot back, we're going to see a path that's a little bit more out to in. Awesome. Silly how easy that is, right? Yeah. So that's a pretty little cut down the neat, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do that again. So what we're going to do is we're going to base everything off of neutral. We're going to move the ball position just a little bit more forward in our stance. We're going to drop our left foot back. By moving the ball position more forward, the face is coming more across, with the face angle that's a little bit more closed. And just by dropping that left foot back, beautiful. And there's your pretty power fade without adjusting your golf swing at all. Neat, right? Yeah. Because again, what we want to show you is how to become a master of ball flight. Nothing scares your playing partners more than having a player that knows exactly how to work the ball. So the next thing we're going to
get a little bit more of the fade.
You can do that a little bit more. You can move the ball a little bit more forward in your stance. And drop the foot back a little bit more. And you can also open the face up a little bit more, just to augment that. Okay. So the next thing we're talking about is the high bomb power draw. And so what we're going to do from here is, of course, to hit a draw, we need a face that's open or closed. If we want a ball to start right of target, we need a face to be a little bit more open, 100%. So what we're going to do, we're going to keep the ball position. We're going to move it forward. We're going to open the face just a little bit. Okay? What we also need is a path that's more in to out. So what we're going to do is if we move the ball position more forward, and so what we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit more secondary tilt. The more secondary tilt we create, the more the angle of attack not only gets more shallow and more up, but more in to out. So the more in to out we are, the more that we're attacking from a more of an in to out path, which is creating more draw spin. But by moving the ball position forward a little bit, watch out behind you, D. That's going to create the path by which we're going to hit high bomb power draws, by which you can start down the right side of any fairway. The ball is going to draw back.
We keep our feet.
Same width. If you want to increase the draw a little bit more, we can drop that left foot back, the right foot back a little bit. 100%. Yep. Pretty good there. And see how that's that high power draw?
Yeah.
Neat, right?
It works.
And so these are ways in which we have mastery of ball flight, not by changing nuances of our golf swing, keeping the same 2-inch pulling action we've been talking about all day, but just by slight tweaks of our ball position. So before we talk about the stinger, just to recap this a little bit, if we want to hit the high power fade, we're going to move the ball position up in our stance a little bit, letting the face close a little bit more relative to where we are in our arc, and we're also going to drop the left foot back. That's going to cause it to come more across, where the face is a little bit more closed, causing that little bit of a power fade. If we want to hit the high power draw, we can move the ball position up a little bit, just hit the ball a little bit more higher on the upswing. We're going to open the face just a hair, where the face is just pointing down your target line, because if I just move the ball position up, the face is going to want to close. I move it up a little bit and make sure it's pointing still down my target. From here, I can drop my lead foot back and tilt until the hand gets to the club. This is going to allow face to be a little bit more open, but also the path more in to out, because the foot dropping back, as well as more tilt, creates a more shallow angle of attack with it, higher launching with reduced spin. That's why that would go a little bit further than that power fade. So next thing we're talking about is the stinger driver. And this is going to be a very useful shot if we're playing in really windy conditions. We're in South Florida, so it happens every once in a while. So what we want to do is we want to, of course, hit the ball a little bit lower. But the one thing I want to be mindful of is we also want to reduce the spin. And so the way that we reduce the spin, because if I move the ball position back, when we talk about axis golf, if I want to create a steeper angle of attack, I want to create not positive tilt, but negative tilts. This would be really good from deep rough situation with my irons, but if I create negative tilt with a driver, I'm going to get too steep, if that makes sense. So what I want to do is I want to move the ball position back in my stance to bring the ball flight down to reduce the loft, but I still want to create that same positive tilt.
So the ball adjusts.
The ball moves back in our stance a little bit. We're going to see the ball a little bit lower. Good. Good. So we're going to play the ball as if we're playing any standard iron shot, which is the ball position, the bottom of your arc is just opposite your left shoulder. We want to catch it just at the bottom of the arc, whereby most ball positions with driver will be a little bit forward, as far forward as the tee is high. Now we still want a little bit of secondary tilt. Beautiful. That's what's going to create less spin loft and a more shallow angle of attack. Beautiful. And there's your little low bullet. Pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
And so again, we live in South Florida, we play in windy conditions, and to say, hey, we have these different shots we can rely on is really beneficial. And it, more importantly, will scare the hell at people you're playing with, because they know that you have a mastery of your ball flight off the tee. And so you know if you're setting up with a ball that you are aiming on the right-hand side of the fairway, if you have to draw it, go ahead and drop the right foot back a little bit and create more secondary tilt to hit that high bomb draw. If you're playing a little dog leg to the right and you want to try to cut it around the corner, move the ball position more forward to hit that high power fade, drop the left foot back, keep everything else the same. If I am playing into the wind, if I want to hit that little low bullet stinger, I'm going to go and move the ball position back, tee it down a little bit lower, but I still want to create that positive secondary tilt. That's going to create that low bullet draw. Now, if I did want to hit a low bullet fade for whatever particular reason, I could then move the ball position back in my stance and create what's called negative tilt. The reason why I'm reticent to dive into that, just because it creates more spin and causes the ball to kind of launch, but important to also know. But again, on a functional capacity, I want to create a low launch shot that has less spin. That way it kind of bores through the wind, you know, a little bullet, so to speak. So let's have each of you hit one more, because I want to show that you can very easily have a mastery of ball flight, not by spending hours practicing, just by slight nuances of your posture, which is kind of refreshing to note. So,
review that again then, sir?
So we're going to tee the ball position just a little bit lower. Ball position moves back in your stance a little bit.
Yep.
The same secondary tilt, because that will create a more shallow angle of attack. Beautiful.
What you want?
Still secondary tilt. There you go. Awesome.
And this is what? This is the stinger.
That's the stinger for sure.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to hit even lower yet, let's move the ball even further back and tee it down just a little bit more.
And more in the middle?
Yep. So just forward of middle. Awesome. And see how that's just kind of completely bore through the wind? So, I'm going to have you hit one more D. And see how that's that low bullet draw stinger? The wind is not going to touch that. So, just to recap these ideas, you know, my goal is to create masters of ball flight, not just awareness in terms of how to activate more powerful muscles, but how the ball is actually going to respond in the air. Because again, you're not going to miss a fairway if you know that you can aim down the left-hand side of every fairway and draw it back, or in down the other side of the fairway and cut it back from there.
Okay.
So if I want to hit a low bullet stinger, the ball position moves slightly back in my stance, just forward of center, and we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of positive secondary tilt to create a more shallow angle of attack. If I want to hit the high bomb power draw, ball position moves up, draw my right foot back a little bit, and from here we're going to create more secondary tilt for a more into-out angle of attack. If I want to go ahead and hit that high power fade, I'm going to move the ball position more forward, I'm going to drop my left foot back a little bit. That's going to create more of a close face and even more out to in club head path, which is going to create that power fade. So again, this is going to give you 3 shots you can rely on, not just to find the fairway, but curve the ball in the direction that you want it to go into, which is really what Ben Hogan said is the mark of any player, is the mastery of control of trajectory as well as ball flight. Pretty neat, right?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to dive into next are the common faults and fixes, because every once in a while we are invited to play in a member guest, and the last thing we want to do is embarrass ourselves. So we want to go ahead and understand where the most common golf-related faults come from and the fastest, most holistic way to fix it literally overnight. Because if we get into a fight or flight mentality saying I'm preparing for member guest tomorrow and I'm spending an hour and a half on the range trying to figure it out, it's already too late. I want to give you the blueprint you can rely on by which you can fix literally any issue in your golf swing overnight. Ready? Let's dive deeper down the rabbit hole.